This is the moment when you really need to persist. There's an amazing quantum theory that actually explains why your reality isn't showing what you want. Hello guys, welcome back, or welcome to any new viewers who happen to click on this video. My name's Alexa. I'm a manifestation coach, content creator, and I post here on my channel every single day. So if you're new or you haven't subscribed or you don't watch my videos regularly, I'd very much appreciate if you thumbs up the video, leave a comment, subscribe, do keep watching, because I think you guys will find a lot of value in this. And if you do, then please do consider supporting my channel in those ways. As you know from the title, this is going to be talking about your 3D reality and why exactly it might not be showing what you want. You might be confused or frustrated as to why your manifestation isn't actually showing up yet in your 3D. And there's what I guess I would refer to as a hidden stage in the manifesting process, the little subtle part that you need to be doing to make sure your 3D doesn't get pulled back into the old story. So I will just put a few things on screen regarding my one-to-one coaching. If you want to take a step further, get extra personal support, you can also become an LOA coaching darling. You can join us for all the monthly challenges and exclusive content that members get. All the links and buttons and everything is below the screen, so do take a look. But now let's jump into the video. If you have a lot of underlying resistance, meaning a lot of subconscious negative beliefs and assumptions that maybe got built up from past negative experiences, but just overall mental resistance, obviously not everything, and especially not the root cause, will be visible, and it doesn't need to be. You don't need to, resolve and unravel every single issue and worry, what's going on in the subconscious? What about this? What about that? Focus on the positive beliefs and statements that you want to be true in your reality, that you're manifesting as if you have them now. And that pretty much resolves whatever issues you have, especially if you go straight to the end. Those little circumstances and beliefs tied to them along the way, they get unraveled on their own, but the chances are you have a lot of mental resistance, especially if it's something tied to your emotions, something that's really emotionally heavy to you and significant. Your conscious mind will probably build up a bit of resistance to that. So you might still be working through that at the moment. And that might be why up until now, maybe movement has been slower, more gradual, maybe not as visible. And remember that if it's showing the opposite, that doesn't mean the opposite is happening or is objectively true, that you've ruined your manifestation, everything's wrong. That's not the reality, and that's not the case either. Movement is always happening if you're putting in at least some positive conscious effort and repetition. And the part you really want to look out for is how you mentally react to your 3D. So when these circumstances and these specific issues that maybe have been holding you back, such as, I'll just put out a bunch of phrases that I want you guys to completely forget about as soon as this video is over, but things like a third party, physical distance, any circumstances that you believe are holding your manifestation back, that have played, over in your mind, any type of negative circumstance. If you have a strong mental reaction to that, chances are, again, it's an internal reaction, emotional reaction. If all of that is going on internally, then that is why you're reacting to the 3D, and therefore it is being held in place. And obviously that is no one's intention, but when you're reacting really strongly, you're spiraling, you're questioning everything and going back and forth, taking 2 steps back because something came up again in your 3D. That's why it's showing the opposite, because it's probably either replaying that theme and that issue and circumstance that you're holding on to, or you're not persisting in the new story that you're actually creating to the point of your 3D starting to visibly shift. These kind of things are most likely to happen at the beginning of your journey, obviously. It's entirely possible, always possible and realistic, but it's not the most likely that right at the beginning, the first few days, the first few hours, you will instantly see this visible shift, a physical change in people, in your circumstances, something in your 3D. Sometimes it usually takes a bit longer if you're focusing on a big end result manifestation. Everything takes its time, whether it goes from one person to saying something to another person, and then the ball gets rolling in that way. Everything unfolds in its own way depending on your individual manifestation. But just remember that at the beginning of a manifestation, this is totally normal and you don't need to worry. And also remember that overall, it's normal to have some ups and downs. The manifesting journey, oftentimes, again, it's very realistic that things can be absolutely simple, easy, perfect, and completely flawless. But usually you're going to have ups and downs. You're a human with emotions. You might be slightly emotionally dysregulated. We're getting into kind of pseudo science talk here a little bit, but I do think there's a lot of credibility to these types of phrases and conversations. But yeah, you might have some emotional dysregulation. You know, your emotional state might be out of balance. You might be very highly reactive, and all these things that, you know, are part of being human. You'll never have 100% perfect thoughts or feelings. So remember, again, give yourself some grace that it is normal to have a few ups and downs. All of this means that you just need to keep persisting with your discipline, self-awareness, self-control, you know, not feeding into bad habits to the best of your ability, going in again every day, making a daily practice of consistency, repetition, but just persisting in that end result, dwelling in the end state, which I believe is most likely an actual Neville Goddard phrase. So the quantum theory that I believe I referenced at the beginning of this video, that I do like to tie in some of that quantum science and actual logical fact into this. I know quite a few people's minds do like to understand the logic and the science behind this. I'm personally very fascinated by it as well as a coach. And basically your new reality, the new timeline that you're focusing on, that parallel reality, so to speak, the end result, whether it's a relationship with your SP, you know, whatever it may be, that only stabilizes when you experience it, you hold on to it, you focus on it internally. It needs to stabilize, well, I should say, really phrase it as stabilizing internally before it appears and stabilizes externally, before your reality brings it in, reflects it, becomes that version of reality. It needs to happen internally. I say this in pretty much all my videos. I tell my clients it always starts internally. When my clients and you know, members or whoever asks, you know, what is going on and is it working, you know, just feeling a little bit uncertain about things, I always say, well, if you're having these kind of thoughts and you mention this positive thing and this positive movement, these are wins. These are small wins to be celebrated. And yes, because remember, it starts internally first. And all of that means that when you put the mental focus into what you want, it doesn't have to be literally reimagining your entire life, because physical reality and, you know, the new timeline, that all might seem a little bit of an intense way to phrase it. But basically just putting your mental focus on the version you want, the version of reality where you and SP are together, where you're rich, where you have a perfect body, whatever it is that you're focusing on and that end goal is. When you focus on that, it's basically, and put the mental focus and hold that idea and that vision, all the other possibilities and timelines and the potential realities, it all literally collapses into that one timeline, that one reality, because you have observed and focused on this one outcome, this one idea, me and SP together, me having loads of money. You focused on that, and when you apply the repetition, it strengthens that connection, it strengthens your focus and belief in it, and it's collapsing all other probabilities into that one result. Really put the focus into your thought patterns. What patterns keep coming up automatically? What reactions mental reactions come up when something bad happens, when something good happens, when you're not seeing anything change in your 3D? Be self-aware. Make sure you're trying to hold on to and build up and empower the positive habits, the thinking from the new version, thinking kindly, calmly, with grace for yourself, not punishing yourself, putting yourself down, being hard on yourself, you know, arguing with yourself in your mind about all the negative things in your 3D, just building up those positive thought patterns and habits. And this all ties in with a mental diet. Basically, the quality of your inner conversations. Are you constantly getting frustrated and annoyed and saying, you know, oh, this showed up again, SP did this, SP did that? Or are you having good inner conversations, whether they're believable or not, telling yourself, oh my gosh, this is proof of my new reality, just like having delulu inner conversations. Do not analyze. That is a key thing. If you take one thing away, do not analyze, don't overanalyze, don't panic because of what your reality is showing. Maybe it's the same thing that's been there this whole time. You haven't seen the physical shift yet. Don't assume, okay, I have to give up. It just doesn't work. I can't manifest. None of those things are true. So just make sure you're not holding on to and constantly looking at and saying, oh, because point A showed up in my reality. This is the result of that. This is the meaning of that. A way to structure your day in a really productive way. So just, live your life. There are no rules, and I'm certainly, as a coach, not going to tell you exactly what to do. And one approach does not fit all, but find a structured, productive routine, daily habits. As I said, being self-aware and just focusing on what's going on in your mind and your mental reactions. But what works for you may be an affirmation routine, a set schedule of how you want to do things. Maybe that's how you work best. If you procrastinate, maybe you need to get super scheduled with things, and then it will become more natural and easy as time goes on. But figure out what works best for you. How can you be productive? Think the most positively throughout the day, because it's really important for your mind to get accustomed to this repetition, this daily practice and normalized way of thinking. You're normalizing this new positive, best case scenario way of thinking. And that repetition, that consistency every day is what is changing your actual brain chemistry, the way your mind and body communicate, the automated reactions, just everything. Your actual neural pathways are adapting to this new way of thinking. So the overall idea there is that you have a good mental diet, just literally the way you think and speak to yourself. That's what it can be summarized as, and being self-aware. That goal is essentially tied into normalizing the end result to your mind. You want to make it seem normal, simple, almost borderline boring. Like, I think I was speaking with a client recently and I said, this is kind of the goal with how you want to think about your manifestation. If I asked you, what's your hair color? First of all, you'd probably be like, why is she asking? Like, she's standing right in front of me. Or, imagine I was your friend standing in front of you and I said, what's your hair color? You think that's the weirdest, most unnecessary question? Well, imagine I said the same thing about your manifestation. Are you and SP together? Are you really wealthy? Imagine I asked you about your manifestation. I would want you to try and set a goal of normalizing your manifestation to the point where the answers would be said in the same way. Yeah, I'm with SP. SP and I are getting married. Yeah, I'm super wealthy. Why would you ask that? That's the goal of what you want to do with your mind. So you're not waiting to see your manifestation come in and give you validation. Your manifestation is waiting for you. It's at the end of the finish line waiting for you, but you need to accept it, and you're only convincing yourself of that. Moving into the final section, I will just say, stop waiting for the 3D reality to show you changes. Stop trying to analyze or reacting to, every small little thing in the 3D and trying to figure out the how and why is this happening. Start telling yourself why your life is amazing and exactly as you want it to be, and how the manifestation just is already here and it came in so easily. You want to keep building up your internal state, your mental state, and just everything going on inside your mind, the way you react and feel about your manifestation and relative to what is actually being shown in your 3D currently, and thinking as if it's already yours, thinking as if your reality is already showing that. Like I said before, being delulu, just telling yourself, regardless of belief or logic, it's already mine, it's already here. And also an important fact is to not focus on trying to figure out how. You don't need to figure out the how. There's actually millions or thousands or hundreds of millions, whatever. There is a limitless number of ways your manifestation could come in. Even if you named one thing like SP will just text me, SP will ask me on a date. It could be, well, there's this bridge of events that leads into this, and it actually means SP shows up outside your house and you bump into each other. Like, there are limitless numbers. So don't box yourself in thinking certain things have to happen, or only when you see circumstances change will you feel better. You don't need to figure out how it happens. Just try and prioritize and put your focus into your own mental and emotional state. That's what matters. Again, the emotions on their own don't manifest. I talk about this a lot in my past videos, but when you tie them in together, it makes it more normalized, easy to imagine, easy to connect to. When you feel better, you're likely to think better. It's just fun, it's empowering. You're literally connecting to the end result. It does strengthen that quantum magnetic field and quantum connection to your desired reality, because you're already internally experiencing it. So the emotional state, it does come up naturally. You never need to force it, but it makes it more real internally for your own experience, and that's all that matters. And also all the other changes that are going on, your nervous system responds as well. That's the final point I wanted to speak about in this video. You're going to teach your nervous system to relax, accept this as a safe, realistic reality for you, not panic and spiral. So just everything mentally, emotionally, just what you experience in life, the goal is to keep building that up to make it seem happy, safe, realistic, and normal. So that was a bit of a rant there, but I hope all of that in today's video was encouraging and elucidated maybe some points that you guys were wondering about. Do thumbs up, subscribe, turn on that notification bell if you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video.